Hi and welcome back to Dusty Book Sniffers. My name's Nicole and today I'm talking about Grady Hendrix, my best friend's Exorcism. What a great read! Let's get into it. Good morning or good evening everybody and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for taking some time out of the day and spending it with me while I prattle on about the books that I've read. Alright, so as I said, today we are here to talk about my best friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. Grady Hendrix, for those that don't know, is a New York Times best-selling author. This is the first time that I've ever read anything of his, and I came across this book as part of a group read with MJ from Reading This Life. So let's just talk a little bit about this cover. How gorgeous is this cover? It is set up like a VHS video cassette, including the back. We also have remember the stickers, staff pick, be kind, please rewind. I basically bought this purely for the cover, so I just had to have it. And I'd also thought my daughter would get a kick out of it because she's very much an 80s vibe in her style and stuff like that. So sometimes she walks out and I just think, oh my God, she looks like me when I was her age. So yeah, just the same clothes, the same style, all that sort of stuff. But anyway, I read this as part of Garb August, but Criminoli had that running in August. And it was I had others that I was going to read, but I fell behind because I wasn't well and my reading month just went out the window. But I did manage to get this in at the beginning of the month before I got ill. This was a very interesting book. This was almost like an bad acid trip reoccurring. It took me back to the 80s. Like, there was things mentioned in here that, like, it was just like going back to my teenage years. So basically on the back it is, I'm going to read the little blurb on that. It is a book that packs all the magic of a summer horror flick. It is like an unholy hybrid of Beaches and the Exorcist. My best friend's Exorcism blends teenage angst, adolescent drama, unspeakable horrors with a mix of 80s pop songs into pulse-pounding supernatural thriller. So it is a thriller, a supernatural thriller at that, as it just said. And I'm not going to go into too much detail of it because I will give too much away. But I will say the things that I loved about this book, as I was reading along, I'm like, oh my God, I read that in school. They talked about a book, Z for Zachariah. It was a book that we read in school here in Australia. I think I was in year 9 when I read it, or year 8, I can't remember now. But yeah, so they were talking about Z for Zachariah, and then all the chapters in this, like, they've got a lot of 80s pop song references and stuff like that. Yeah, it's just like, there's just so much stuff in it that just kept taking me back. And it is following the story of Abby and Gretchen and a few other side characters as well. So Abby and Gretchen are sophomore in high school. I don't know, is that about 15, 16 years old? I'm not too sure of the US. I'm thinking it is around the maybe 14, 15 mark. But as I said, it is following the story of Abby and Gretchen, and they have been best friends since 4th grade. And they're in high school and they are pretty much inseparable, and they've got a few other friends that they're involved with, and that they sort of get along, but mostly it's those two that are inseparable. And so one night a group of friends go out and they are skinny dipping, and Gretchen goes missing, and no one knows what's happened to her, where she's gone or anything like that, and they're looking for her, and eventually they find her, but she's come back and she's changed. You know, where they find her, she's cold, she's wet, she's naked, and so she's changed dramatically, and Abby sees this straight away. Well, of course she would, because they're best friends. And then Gretchen has changed so much that she starts doing these things that are just not her. It's not her personality or anything like that. And basically things start happening to the people around her because she's doing it to them. And Abby is seeing this all happening, and she's trying to raise the alarm, and no one's really listening to her. And so basically what's happening is Gretchen is succeeding in pushing her out of the friend group. And, you know, you see this always happening with teenagers, and like one of my teenagers went through this sort of stuff as themselves, not supernatural stuff, but pushed out of the friend group. And so she was doing things to the friends, and they were starting to say that Abby was doing it. So she was getting blamed for the things that were getting done and all of that sort of stuff. So there is a lot of teenage angst that happens in this book. And you feel sorry for Abby as you're reading. You do feel sorry for Abby because you're seeing what's happening. You're seeing what Gretchen is doing, and you know that Abby's right, but no one's listening to her. The chapters are set up really well in this. Like this was like a major flashback book for me. Every time I turned a page, there was some reference that took me back to my teenage years. There was songs in here that took me, like, I'd read the title. I might not remember who the artist was, but the song would start playing in my head. It was great. Like, I had a fun time reading this. I pretty much read this in 24 hours, 30 hours, like over a 30-hour period. I couldn't put it down. Like, I'd just start reading it and I just could not put it down. It was pretty fast paced. The pacing was really good in it. I was quite surprised. I was actually quite surprised that I liked the book, because usually I don't, like, I do read horror and stuff like that, but I normally don't go for the trashy sort of horror books or anything like that. As I said, I had a lot of fun. Every chapter was a song title. Some of them weren't, but most of them were. I've got a couple of them marked here. So I think We're Alone Now. I can't remember who sung that, but you'll probably see them there screaming at the camera going, I know who sung it. I can't remember who sung it, but every time I look at those words, boom, the song starts playing. Fast Car was another one that was in here. Beds Are Burning by Midnight Oil. I remember them. Midnight Oil was one of my favourite bands. Yeah, there was just, what else have I got? I've got them marked. I Would Die For You. A New Sensation was another one. So, like, you're probably sitting there and here, if you're an 80s kid, early 90s kid, you're probably going, oh my God. So yeah, it was a really good read. I was surprised by the ending though. Like, I didn't think it was going to end that way, and I'm not going to give anything away. It was a surprising ending to me. It was nicely wrapped up. I feel that it was wrapped up nicely, and yeah, it was quite an interesting thing that went on with this, and just the different players that come into the book as well were quite interesting, and how they were played out in the book, and it kept my attention is all I'm going to say. Now, I did give this a 4-star read. It has, how many pages has it got? 332, so it's not a long book by any standards, it's pretty average. 4-star read, and the only reason it got a 4-star read is because it had references in here that I remember from my teenage years. There's a I'm not sure if I mentioned this or not, but there's a book in here that is also referenced, Dead for Zachariah, and it is a book that I read when I was in high school, and part of our assignment was, for reading that book, was to write a sequel to it. So, yeah, it's quite a interesting read. If you like some flashbacks, there is, I will say, there is some animal cruelty in this. So if you don't like that thing, you're definitely not going to like that. Like this book at all. But it is a very small proportion of it. It is not highlighted throughout the book. It is just a little part of the book that where she does something to her dog. So if you don't like animal cruelty, be warned that that is in there. And I cannot for the life of me remember what chapter is. So you'll know, because the scene that plays out where Abby has gone over to see Gretchen at her house, and Gretchen is being nasty, and basically then the dog's there, and yeah, some stuff's going down, and that's what happens. So just be aware of that, okay, that is in there. But If you are an 80s kid or a 90s kid, or you're into 80s pop culture, you will like reading this book. It is definitely a flashback book for me. As I said, 4 stars. But that's it from me today. If you have been here for a while and you've yet to subscribe, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Give the video a thumbs up as well, and maybe share across the socials and help me get seen. That's it for me today. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and I will see you next time.